choice and look at that.
Right.
Okay. All right. Any other questions from the board?
No, sir.
Okay. This being a public hearing, is anybody would like, anything else you'd like to add, sir? No. This being a public hearing, is anybody would like to speak in favor of? Anyone speak in opposition? Being none, I'll close the public hearing right now. What's the pleasure of the board?
I'll make a motion that we grant Smith Auto Recycling a license or an upgrade to 25 vehicles.
I'll second it.
Any discussion?
We just hope you keep the place looking nice, and that's all.
We will.
Under discussion also, I realize you've had an unlimited license, so obviously there's a step down to that, and since you're selling 15 cars a month, that's your turnover rate. I mean, that's, you kind of need that. That makes sense to me, so I would be in favor of that also. Okay, if no, any other discussion? Being none, all in favor? Aye. So that's passed, and you get your 25 cars, sir.
Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. Have a good day.
Good luck.
Okay. Next item on the agenda was the Clinton Post Office. However, they had called, they asked for more time, so that has come off the agenda. Their motion to go into administrative business.
Make a motion that we go into administrative business.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Being none, all in favor?
Aye.
Mike, you want to take care of the administrative businesses for us?
Sure, just a couple of items, Mr. Chairman. The first, I think we're a little bit early. I don't know if we want to skip over the first one.
Okay, what do we do that?
A transfer request from the veteran agent, and he did indicate that he would be here in case the board had any questions.
Okay,
but I told him it probably would be more like 7:15, 7:30. So,
What-
Go into old and new.
Well, we can just skip that. I want to come back to it.
yeah, I can go to the others. The second is the Town Hall Use Commission report on recent applications for use of the Town Hall Auditorium. One is for the Ladies Ancient Order Hibernians for March 9th. One is for the Leprechaun Society on March 10th, and the other is the Clinton Police Relief Association for April 28th. They have been approved for recommendation to the board from the committee.
It's a pleasure of the board.
Make a motion that we allow the use of the town hall for all three events.
Okay, okay. Is there a second?
Yes, I'll second that.
Any discussion? Being none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. That's passed.
The next is a report from the fire chief, monthly operational report of the fire department for the period November 2006.
It's a pleasure of the board.
I'll make a motion that we accept it as presented, Mr. Chairman.
Is there a second?
Second that.
Any discussion on this report? Being none, all in favor?
Aye.
The next is a monthly report from the superintendent of public works for the period of December 2006.
Okay. Pleasure of the board.
Motion to approve?
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Being none, all in favor?
Aye.
So that's approved. Okay. So the motion to go on the old and new business, we can come back to the other one for the...
Can I go back for 1 second?
Yes,
Mr.
we
Chairman?
can.
Is that a misprint for the fire? No, that was the November one that he sent.
That was November.
He's still behind the ball a little bit. All right.
So we need December. Okay. There you go.
You're up.
Mr. Cabrat, just in time. Perfect timing. Get you in.
Sure. Much of what I have to say involves talking about the personal goings-on of widows and soldiers in town. I need to ask that you see me in executive session.
Okay.
Because I don't want to announce the difficulties of these folks who are seen coming in out of my office in public.
Okay, we can talk about that.
So later on in the
Okay.
executive session.
But the matter of this, is that the same thing, the same issue, the finance committee transfer, is that what you're referring to? Mike?
Sorry.
Is it, Mr. Carpenter, this is the same issue, the finance committee transfer, is that what it's relating to?
Yes.
Okay.
He needs additional funding to
Okay.
cover benefits for the remainder of the year.
So we can do that in executive session after then. Okay. So if that's the case, old and new business? Okay.
The first item on the old and new business again is the board wanted to speak with the police chief about overtime in the department and funding. And again, I told him probably be around 7:50,
Okay.
7:30. The second agenda item got canceled, so it kind of put us
Threw it
on
off,
schedule
yeah.
here, so.
Okay. Fireworks then?
The next was a request from the Clinton Fire Union for a donation to offset costs of the fireworks that they held in July of '06. Normally, the selectmen, every year since they've been doing the event, the selectmen have provided a donation. The fire union, I guess it was an oversight, they never submitted a letter this past summer. So they were trying to finalize their expense and close out the costs of the program. They showed they were a little short and realized they hadn't submitted the request. So then they sent up a letter asking the board to consider giving them the donation again for this fiscal year.
Yeah, I was surprised that they didn't ask us. That was kind of odd that they didn't
Yeah,
ask
I
us for
think
that.
usually what happens is they'll come up on camera to get some publicity for the
Right.
event, and while they're here, they ask, but they didn't have anyone to represent them, so I think that kind of fell through the cracks. So.
Right. Okay, what's the pleasure of the board on that one?
I'd like to ask Mike how much we have left in the civic.
We have all of it, I
fund.
think.
We have plenty.
I think we have all of it.
Yeah,
That's
I don't
it.
believe there's been any, well, there maybe have been some, but I did check. I mean, I can get a balance right now, but I'm pretty certain it's 1,000.
Yeah, we have 1,000. We've always
Let me just
done
get
it.
the balance.
That's it.
There's currently 2250.
2250, something, we can put them on the year already. Okay, so it's 2250 in the fund. Okay, so that's,
Okay, I'd like to make a motion that we donate $1,000 to the Clinton firefighters to offset their fireworks display.
okay, is there a second to that motion?
Second.
Any further discussion? No, the only discussion I have is that it's an event that's, attended well by the town of Clinton and surrounding towns, and they do an outstanding job with that, and it's, it's a well-attended event. It's almost like a tradition. So, with that being said, all in favor? Aye. So that's passed. Michael, Liberty Tavern?
Yes, the next item, the police chief has sent a letter and a report to the board asking for that a hearing be called against the Liberty Tavern liquor license based on number of calls. They've had numerous calls there over the last few months and would like to bring them in to discuss that with the board.
Look, what's the pleasure of the board on that? There's been a lot of complaints from what I can see.
I would like to make a motion that we call a hearing. We can have that in 2 weeks, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
Call a hearing for our meeting of the 24th to talk to the Liberty Tavern about this rather lengthy list of complaints. And I'd also like to add to that we suspend their late night closings until further notice.
Second.
Okay, is any further discussion on that? Mike, is it solicitor there? I mean, can we, yeah, we can do that.
Yeah, I think it's a
We can do that because that's a
discretionary
discretionary thing, that's right, we don't need the solicitor for that. That's right, that's just something we do as a courtesy. Okay, so the motion, the second, any other discussion? Being none, all in favor?
Aye.
So that's passed, okay. All right, the next thing is the El Rincon Criollo Restaurant. They're requesting that we submit a new application to obtain their liquor license that was removed for 2007. We are required, the select board is required to conduct a hearing within 20 days of receiving an application, which we have received. Okay, so with that being said, we need to set a hearing for that, so what's the pleasure of the board? kind of neat, we have no
I'll make a
choice.
motion that we
Here we go.
set a hearing for our next meeting to talk about the application for a liquor license for the Eldon Creole.
Right, okay. Is there a second on that?
Second.
Okay, any further discussion? The only discussion I have, this is that we have to, by law, within 20 days, correct, right, Mike? Do a hearing for this, so that's, we have to do it quickly, so for our next, so we can fall into that time frame that we have, so. Okay, with that being said, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Next one is the wall filtration. The superintendent probably has provided a draft or a plaque for us to review, so if we can review that, we can talk about that perhaps next meeting. Next is, yeah. Mike, you want to go over Michael, would you mind going over the Grove Street retaining wall?
Sure. The superintendent of public works had been contacted about a wall that was bowing, a retaining wall on Grove Street that was starting to bow, and the resident was concerned about the stability of the wall and the danger that it might pose. So the resident indicated that the wall was constructed by the town. A number of years ago, the wall had collapsed and the town rebuilt it. So they were asking for the town to consider repairing this, or rebuilding a new one, or repairing this wall in order to alleviate their concerns. So the superintendent just looked into it, got a price of $23,700, and wanted to provide that to the board for direction to see how to handle it. One recommendation he's making would be that before any work is done, that there be a survey done to determine whether or not the wall is on town property. As to why the town did or didn't do this, I don't know for sure whether they did or didn't years ago, but if they did, was it because it was on town property, or was it because of other reasons? So I think at the very least, he would hope that we at least find out who owns it.
So we don't know that for sure.
We don't know that.
He doesn't know that. He's not aware of where the boundary line is, or the ownership lies with that wall right now. So.
But, I mean, the wall is on the street, so I'd be hard pressed to think that the town doesn't own that wall.
The street abuts the wall, it goes right up to it.
The street, the wall is on the street. I would say it's beyond the fog line.
How's that?
Beyond the fog line?
And these are old pictures. How bad is it now? Is it?
Well, I mean, I'm not
Is
an
this going to
expert.
happen again?
Yes, it is. It's not a matter of if, it's when.
It's when,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. So,
That bad.
I mean, the dam reopened June 2005. There's several pedestrians coming through daily, whether they're riding bikes or walking. It's not a matter of someone parking there and having the wall collapse on a car. It's a matter of public safety for citizens that are walking to the dam to, walk their dogs or their children. And, if it's legitimately the town's wall and on the town's property, I think it would be prudent and proactive for us to take action and fix the wall and fix it correctly once and for all, instead of patching it, instead of building it incorrectly. We should, do it right.
Do it right.
The second time.
If we did it the first time, which we did probably.
We did do it first.
Yeah, I don't know if it's a matter of if or when. It's just a matter of if it's on town property and it's a danger.
That's on the right-hand side, right? The one
Yeah, if you're heading
towards,
towards
yeah, towards the right-hand side, right?
Yeah. And keep in mind,
I remember, I know that we talked.
the other side is really, a tough entrance to get in for pedestrians because it's already crumbling into
Right.
the waterway as it is, on the state side.
Right.
So this side gets used the most by pedestrians.
Right. And I agree with you. I think if it's our wall and we did it, we should definitely fix it correctly, not patch it. I mean, because patching is gonna be back here 2 years later or something, addressing the same situation again.
Or 6 months.
Or 6 months, well, you could, or sooner, It all depends how much rain you get and how, so I agree with you 100% on that if it's our wall, we should fix it in a timely fashion. and quickly, yeah. Mike, did Chris give you an indication how fast he would have, you know,
When
that
you would
we would know when that is, belongs to us?
Well, I think it's just a matter of approving to go ahead and spend the money to do it. It just will get a survey and whatever, how long to get a survey done.
Yeah, because we really, I think we have to act quickly on that.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not, I mean, I understand the survey, and if that'll satisfy the superintendent's, if that's the one sticking point, is the survey,
Right.
then we pay to have the survey done. But I'd be really surprised
That it is.
that a wall that is on the street is not owned by the town.
I'm not surprised in this job, I'm not surprised anymore by a lot of things. But I concur with that. I mean, I think it makes sense, you know, almost like 99% that it's our wall if it's on the property, but who knows? Because what they did back in those days when they first built it, I mean, it's a pretty old wall, right?
Well, 1972.
Right, like 72 when we did it? So we should have known
They
that.
could have built the wall right on our,
My only concern is that I don't want to get into it. If it isn't our wall, if we do it for one, we have to do it for everybody else. And that's my only concern with that. But do we need a survey to, don't we have any, we must have some maps here that assessors have.
The only real way you're gonna be able to determine if
It's
it's
by-
on town property or private property is a survey,
Survey. And that-
versus engineer.
we should be able to do it, we should be able to do it fairly quickly. That should be a quick thing.
I don't know the schedule of the
Right.
engineers, but generally speaking, a week to 2 weeks is not unusual. If it's an emergency, I'm sure they can move quicker if they were asked to.
Right.
Something like that is going to range in cost from 1 to 2,000, is it?
I don't know how complicated it's gonna be. If it's gonna be a full meets and bounds survey, they range anywhere from 400 up. I don't know if they can just shoot the lines for the front, if they have to do the whole
Right.
property, what they need to do. But generally speaking, it'd be 400 up, I think.
Yeah.
But again, it depends upon the survey.
Well, I think we should definitely do it.
yeah.
I don't think we have a choice in
I
that.
like to have a survey done too, just to.
You want to make a motion?
Sure, yeah, I'd make a motion to go ahead and have the survey done,
Mhm.
and upon completion, you know, submit the results for us to take a look. And, you know, if it's on town property, I
Need
would
to-
say go ahead and,
Fix it.
you know, fix it. You know, take the estimate there and get the contractor out there and working on it.
All right.
I'll second that.
Okay. Any discussion? Under discussion, I think, you know, we want to instruct the superintendent to do it in a timely fashion, as he always does, and, you know, and look at when we can replace that as quickly as we can. Okay. Any other comments?
Yeah, I just want to bring up, he said he would have to use Chapter 90 money if the state allowed such a project to budget.
If not, we
for
got a
repair-
budget for, that's what I'm
To
saying.
repair for the next fiscal year, so we have to find the money for that.
Sweet.
I-
I guess, yeah, that's a good point, because, you know,
I
the
don't-
money may not be available that quick,
Right,
or unless, you know, unless it let us use that Chapter 90 money.
right, so I would have him investigate that as well.
Right. Right.
Yeah, so
Do we need to do it?
amend the motion to
Right.
follow through with his, how to appropriate the money for the.
Okay. And it's a second on that. Any further discussion? Be none, all in favor?
Aye.
So that's passed. Okay, great. Any committee reports?
Wait, are we still under old new business?
Yeah, we are. Yes, we are.
I actually wanted to bring something up about the Water Street Bridge.
Water Street Bridge, yeah.
From my understanding of what I read in the newspaper, it seems that that bridge has been pushed out to probably 2009 at this point. You know, we get a report from the state that says it's in serious condition. Chris is obviously going to go and, you know, do his due diligence and look at it and shore it up as best he can. And that's fine. What I'd like to do, though, is instruct our town administrator to talk with our state representatives and our state senator to see if we could be moved up in priority on the list of bridges to be replaced by the state. I do believe it was slated for 2008, and I seem to remember it was slated for even earlier than that at one point. So I don't know how it slipped and been pushed out, but I believe it has. So anything that our representatives or senator can do to help us to move that up would be great.
and to piggyback on that, if anything the public can do, a lot of times the public calls too, that helps us lobby our senators and our state reps. But that's a very good point, selecting the town.
Would you like that in the form of a motion?
If you want, I mean, yeah, why don't we do it just
All right, then I would make a motion that we instruct Town Administrator Ward to contact our representative, Harold Naughton, Harriet Chandler, Senator Harriet Chandler, and Senator Antonioni about having us moved up on priority for the Water Street Bridge.
Okay.
Second.
Any further discussion? I think that's a good point. I think Chris has already started trying to talk to the state about trying to get that quicker, so that would help.
I'm sure he has, but anything that could help
Right. Oh, yes,
expedite that situation, I believe would be a good thing.
Exactly. Great. All in favor?
Aye.
So that's done. Any?
Under old business, I'm not sure on the schedule of how they install streetlights, but is there a status on the top street light?
It's just getting the inventory and getting the material in, so we can check on the time frame, but I don't have a date as of right now, but I'll find out for you.
Can we get one for next meeting?
Yep.
Any other old or new business? Anything else? Fuzzy? Okay, there's no more old and new business. Any committee reports?
Yeah, I have a committee report. The Master Plan Committee had its first meeting, able to appoint positions, as far as chair, vice chair, and clerk. And we had a pretty active discussion about how we all felt about the town and where things are going and how things have changed. And one of the key points that came out is participation amongst the citizens of Clinton to be able to help fill out the points of the plan and be able to have the voice of the citizens form and shape how the plan is established. So looking forward to citizens participating once we roll out the citizen input plan, and then they'll be able to come forward and state their cases. So
That's good.
yeah.
That's going to be an important one. Any other committee reports? I have one from the, you have one, Joe? From the Water Task Force. We had a couple meetings, and we're in the process of gathering data with, with Superintendent McGowan, and the group that we have is a very active group. That's go-getter group, and we're looking forward to working together. So we have a meeting scheduled for next week also, and we're looking forward to doing this. It should be. There's a lot of good ideas and a lot of input, so I think we're going to make some progress on that.
I'm sure there's a lot of good ways to make that more equitable.
Exactly, and that's what we're discussing, how we can make it equitable for everybody, what's fair and what isn't fair. So, and Chris is providing us a lot of information from other towns, how they do it and stuff like that. So
Oh, that's good.
there's a lot of good questions being asked, so that's going to be a positive thing also.
I think that's what we envisioned when we
Yeah,
formed it. So
exactly.
good.
Any other ones? If there's no more committee reports, we're going to go into public comment, and then we're going to be going to an executive session with the Veterans Agent. And we talk to the police chief also regarding overtime requirements for this department. Okay. That being said, public comment? Yes, ma'am. Hi, how you doing? Can you please state your name and your address?
I'm Karen Keefe. My Clinton address is 104 South Meadow Road.
And my name is James LeBlanc. I live at 44 Pondview Drive in Clinton.
Hi,
Hi.
welcome.
Hi. My neighbors and I had a meeting and started to question or put together the idea of putting together a proposal in response to your request for proposals for leasing the Brandley parcel.
Okay.
And as we met, I'm relatively new to town, and I started asking some dumb questions, like, why would a town want to lease a part of land that looks like it's in Lancaster? And all of a sudden, I got this sort of burst of information with lots of bits and pieces from way back when to sort of recent to right now, and we started putting all of these pieces together, and this puzzle started to come together, and I was still left with the question, why would the town of Clinton want to lease this property? So what we did was we did some more research, and we put together a package of information to share with you, and I'd like to give you that package and walk you through what's in it, because it's very detailed and a lot, and leave you with it for your review and to look at, considering when you're making any decisions about that piece of land.
How big is that packet?
This is the packet.
And you're gonna go with that whole packet or just some bullet items?
No, I'm going to go over the highlights and what's in it. Okay, no, I wasn't going to go
Oh,
over the whole
'cause,
thing.
you know,
Yeah,
that's been done before, that's why.
Yes, the appendices, we have several appendices with some details from the minutes of past meetings and newspaper articles and maps and et cetera.
Before we start, I want to thank you for
Thank you.
taking the time to come up with that information. I'm sure that it took time and it wasn't an easy task to do.
Thank
so.
you very much. And I'll tell you one thing, it's been fun learning my neighbors and learning about the neighborhood. It was a lot of work, and I think we've done a pretty good job putting it together. The first page is a cover letter, and you can read that, but I bring you to the next page,
The next one?
which has basically the contents of the package. We have a listing of backgrounds and sequence of events that went on here in Clinton and votes from the townspeople. We have summary points as well as what we think are some concerns and some very high risks and some recommendations. And then behind that, you see there are several 5 appendices with references to all of our points. If you take a look at the background with us, in 1998, the town of Clinton made some decisions about combining both the athletics field and the schools in order to take advantage of a state reimbursement. So the expenditure was $22 million, and the 75% reimbursement would be $15.6 million, which we think is at risk potentially. Later in 1999, the town of Clinton bought the parcel of land for the athletic fields. And in June of that year, they voted in conjunction with the Brandley parcel to make that passive and recreation and wildlife use only for the Brandley parcel. So we have 2 bits of land having some attention in 1999. In 2000, the town of Clinton started process on the new water treatment plant, and they voted as to where this would go, which would be on the north end of the athletics fields. Now, the stipulations for that land were conservation stipulations, and at that same meeting on December 11th, the town voted to put a conservation restriction on the Brandley parcel and transfer that conservation land use so that they could build the athletic field complex. In our summary points, thinking about the Brandley parcel, the Brandley parcel was gifted to the town of Clinton about the turn of the century, and it's been used for a number of different things, for landfill, for sludge, and it's about 12.3 acres. This original piece of property, what's left of the original piece of property is that 12.3 acres is actually in Lancaster. And it's zoned by Lancaster as open land and residential area. Right now, Clinton pays property taxes because of its zoning and pays about $620, $622 something, a year to Lancaster for that land. Now, the Brandley parcel was designated as the site to transfer that conservation restriction from the athletic field so that they would be in compliance with the federal law and regulations around restrictions. And that at that town meeting on December 11th, they voted that to be transferred over to the athletic fields. Now, one of the things that we discovered that was sort of dismaying to us was that that particular vote was never filed. So that when you look at that, look up that property now, that restriction is not on that property, even though the town had already voted on it. So the town of Clinton failed to follow up by filing that conservation restriction with the Commonwealth. And that the town continues to pay taxes on that bit of property to Lancaster. So we think that the potential risks and concerns are that we continue to pay property taxes on a piece of property that are really unnecessary for paying those taxes. If we had actually filed that conservation restriction and informed the town of Lancaster, they would have not been charging us those property taxes. Since that hasn't been complied with, we're concerned that the state of Massachusetts may relook at the continuation of their reimbursements for the athletic fields and the schools, as well as maybe get back what we've already received. So I think that that amount of money is in jeopardy. And there's also a potential idea that a lawsuit could be filed against the town for not securing that land properly. So our recommendations, as a group of concerned citizens and taxpayers, are that we ensure that the conservation restriction transfer for the Brandley parcel be filed with the Commonwealth properly through the DCR. That, given that restriction, why would you want to have any other things done with the Brandley parcel? Why would you lease that land and therefore withdraw the request for proposal and disregard any other requests or any other proposals for that land? That we look at reinforcing the town vote as a passive recreation and wildlife habitat, and to use that land for recreation open to everyone. And that we notify Lancaster of the conservation restriction once it's filed so that we no longer pay taxes on it. Behind that, you'll see the appendices and all the reference notes. We have 5 different appendices pulling out the notes from the town meetings as well as the assessor's maps. And we've, in Appendix 5, put together the direct contact for the Division of Conservation Services for Massachusetts and how to actually file that conservation restriction. It's a lot of information to digest, and it's good bathroom area. We've highlighted the points that we think are most important, and we thank you for any of your consideration.
Well, I thank you for, like I said earlier, for taking that time, to group to work together and put this on in organized and systematic fashion. So I appreciate that.
It was a pretty interesting puzzle.
As they all are, aren't they?
Yeah.
No, this looks like it stands on its own, and we can take a look at it. It looks complete, and definitely appreciate your research and homework, so we can start taking action and seeing what we can do about this.
Brought some good
I heard
attention.
you earlier looking at citizen participation in the land, and here we are participating.
Well, it's key. That's what it's all about. It's about people voting and expressing their opinions, and without that, we can't do our jobs.
And as Karen said, as we were going through this, the other thing that we realized is, as most of you weren't on the Board of Selectmen at the time that a lot of this took place, a lot of this is 8 or 9 years old. It's very fragmented. It's not all in one place. And we said, wait a minute, in order for them to understand what it is we're trying to explain to them, they need to have a snapshot of what happened, a chronological order of everything, what was voted on, what was decided, why it was decided, and then all the supporting documentation just verifies what we're telling them. And that was the idea, was you have to be able to make an informed decision, you have to have the right answers, and this is it.
And that's a good point, because when you have information in front of you, it's easy when you're outside looking in to be a Monday night quarterback. But when you have facts, and you look at facts, and you look at both sides of the puzzle and both sides, and talk to people, and you'd be surprised when you can find out. But you need to have that information so you can make, like you said, an informed decision. And without that, you can't make it, you know? So again, I thank you very much for the time and effort, and I'll be calling. I'm going to have
Call us.
questions. So
You've got our names and addresses, and we're
That's
glad
perfect.
to discuss further.
well, I'm glad that you came up.
Great.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Is there any other public comment? Do you have a comment, Mr. Conlon?
No, after consultation with the solicitor, I'm convinced that I can't ask for an executive session.
Okay.
I'd like to just present this generic form.
Okay, if he's, let me see if there's any more public comment, then we'll go right to that. Yes, Mr. Brown, how are you doing today?
As requested by your board, by the chairman of the board, I sent a letter out to try to have a reorganization meeting because you wanted to know how many members were still interested in participating in emergency management. So I sent a letter out, reorganizational meeting to be held on Monday, January 8, 2007, 7 p.m. at the town hall. And with the help of the Selectman Secretary, we sent out various letters to 17 or 18 people. And at the meeting, we had 13 people. The other people had work commitments, and one was sick, so they weren't able to attend. But we did have 13 in attendance. Some of the discussions went on training, first responder training that we have to update, first aid, CPR. Some members brought up CERT training. That's another form of first aid and emergency, getting ready for emergencies. Personal protection equipment was brought up by the members, something that would require probably coming to your board in the near future maybe, and putting a thing together for some funds. Us attending more meetings or having more meetings and letting everybody know when the meetings are, so everybody that can attend can come. And other discussions about equipment and things like that. Everybody wanted to proceed ahead to try to make the organization better. And different things that were brought up to make it operate better, and training and the certification process for the different training and stuff. There's a lot of new training coming out, different things that are required. NIMS, National Incident Management System training, incident command training, and different things like that, so everybody is on the same page and knows what has to be done during an emergency. There was going to be some training down the fire station. It had to be canceled. There wasn't enough participation.
Okay.
They opened it up to a lot of other municipalities, but they didn't. It was kind of a short notice probably, and everybody didn't have a chance to. They had some, but not enough.
Okay.
So they're planning on doing that again, which we'll keep an eye on that so we can take that training and stuff. I don't know if any one of the other members want to have anything else to say about how we want to proceed forward, try to work together and keep the organization going. Another thing that was brought up, probably put out something for new members. Get some more interest in people volunteering to, because that's what it is, an all-volunteer organization.
So how many were in attendance in this meeting?
13.
13.
Like I said, some had work obligations, and one was definitely ill. He's one of the newer members, and probably be in the radio division.
So you had 13 that attended, and how many total members?
I sent out 17 letters
Okay,
to
so
people
17.
that I kind of thought were still interested, which I spoke to all of them, it's just that all of them couldn't be there in that total. Over the years, we've had a lot more members. They just grow up, move on, get married, have families. They don't have the time. They have to work more than one job.
Mm-hmm.
So it's hard these days with the economy, and everything costs so much, so they got to work more than one job to pay for everything. So these guys I know put in a lot of years, different years for different individuals. Just to quickly go down, if I can remember them all. Chris Strong has about 5 years. I have 38. Efren Gonzalez is a new member. Richard Craffey has about 5. Ryan Craffey has about 5. Doug Henry has 7. Roger Henry has 12. Constantino Zapanis has 16. Robert Kane has 9. Joseph Vigini has 5. Jeff Vigini has 16. Jimmy DeCesare has 16. And Greg Algeberi has 16.
So if you take a look at today's, standards for emergency management for planning, and you compare it to what we have, in-house in our emergency management department, have we identified the areas that we need to improve on, what needs to be done to bring them up to, a specific, guideline or standard?
Yeah, there's a lot of training now with like I mentioned, the NIMS thing, the incident command, just to know how the progression of an incident or emergency management incident goes, who's in charge of what. Even at the accountant's level here, or Board of Health or anything like that, they're all involved in that incident command and NIMS. Incident command is like a fire department thing, but the NIMS thing is federal, which is, the incident command is incorporated in it plus a little bit more. And the federal thing is they want everybody on the same page, because when you go somewhere else, everybody should know how that operates. And that's what the National Incident Management System program does.
For the incident command piece, do we have a letter or something from the fire chief, expressing he's on board and can implement that piece of the plan?
It is part of the plan. Incident command's been around for quite a while. The NIMS thing is something they come up to adopt, the federal thing too. There's different aspects to NIMS, different levels depending on what level, people are at. There's IC 100, 200, 3 and 4, 700, and 800. There's whole, covers quite a bit depending on how, what level your expertise is at or should be at. The 100 and 700 is kind of an introductory type thing, and then you go on from there from the different levels.
When's the next meeting, Mr. Board?
That's one thing that we didn't exactly come up with, but we know we want to have more frequent meetings, and have an agenda set up for what we're going to talk about and different things.
I guess that's what I'm looking for. When's the next meeting? When is training going to start? who's delegated to seek out that training, who's gonna be doing what, because,
Well, the CERT training is being looked into, I think, by Bob Kane. And I don't know, we didn't have a specific date set for another meeting yet.
Mr. Kane, you wanna?
Bob, want to speak?
Hi, I'm Robert Kane. I'm Director of Radio Communications for Clinton Emergency Management Agency. I've got a call into MEMA headquarters in Framingham, Mass. I'm pretty sure he's going to put me in contact with a man from West Boylston to start the civil emergency response training at some point in the spring. Seems to be the next time frame.
Okay.
That's the best I could get on short notice.
Okay.
We were downstairs on Tuesday night, and today, of course, is Wednesday. So
Right.
No, it's Monday.
Monday, yeah.
And,
pretty good.
I'm going to try and push that forward. I offered to take that as an action item for Mr. Brown. I'll see it through, and I should have something to report to you fellas by the next selectmen's meeting.
Thank you.
Great.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anything else, Mr. Brown?
Yep.
Yes. What I've received here is a resignation from Mr. Richard Brown, and I read it as such. Honorable Board of Selectmen, 242 Church Street, Clinton, Mass. Dated January 10, 2007. I, Richard H. Brown, member of Clinton Emergency Management Agency of a total of 38 years, 18 of which were as Clinton Emergency Management Director. I regretfully submit my resignation as Director and would stay on as member effective on January 31, 2007. Respectfully signed, Richard F. Brown. Mr. Brown, I want to thank you personally for the time and effort that you've put forth into this agency. A lot of your time, a lot of the parades. As I remember as a kid, I remember you doing all that stuff in the parade, so I want to thank you for that. I know it's not easy for you to step down, but you've done a lot of work. A lot of times it's unnoticed, but you've done a lot of work. And I think I want to thank you for that. And I would hope that you would stay on with the thing for as long as you can, because your experience will be valuable to other members there, and I think that's key. And again, I want to thank you for that. Any other comments from the board?
Yes, I'd like to thank you as well, Mr. Brown. You do bring a wealth of knowledge, and you can mentor these guys and help move this into the into 2007. Thank you.
Anybody else? We have a letter, but we need a motion on that, if we want to accept that on that. Say motion to accept that resignation.
I'll make a motion that we accept Mr. Brown's resignation from Emergency Management Agency.
Is there a second? There's no second? A second. I'll step down, Mr. Chair, and I'll second that nomination with regret. I thank him for his service. With that being done, any further discussion in the matter?
Well, it seems to me that
It's not going to happen.
pretty hard to get a second from Mr. Brown to step down, and maybe reconsider. Maybe not.
Maybe not. Well, we got to vote.
this is something that, you obviously put in that it's regretfully, so, I mean, is it something that you want to do, or are you being forced to do, or?
Well, lately there's been a lot of accusations made about the department. So, just kind of tired of all that.
Okay. I'll just throw in under discussion that this vote for me is gonna be difficult, and, I'm going along with your wishes. It's not what I plan, or it's not what I would want.
Well, I think it's time for maybe somebody maybe younger and different ideas, maybe better ideas.
Okay.
Give it a chance. I guess.
Yeah, I mean, I just the tone of how this is, turning out. I don't like to see it this way. I really don't.
Yeah, I agree.
You know, someone who's served this long for the town, and to regretfully submit a resignation is embarrassing.
Especially when we're trying to get people to volunteer to do community service. I respect your time that you've put in, and same thing as Mr. Bazidlo said, I would only make a motion because you had requested this, but I would
Well, it was
regretfully
discussed a few
honor
times,
your wishes,
suggested,
so.
Well, with that being said, I mean, we all appreciate the time you put in, I know I do. It's not an easy decision to make. I think you mentioned that, maybe it's time, to pass that torch to somebody else, And that does not take away from the work you've put into this town, into that agency and stuff like that. And I think the fact that you're staying as a member is gonna help whoever, decides, gets picked to be in that role. And this is a tough decision after all these years of service. So I'm going to ask you again: is this what you want to do, sir?
yeah, I guess so.
No. If you have doubts, if you want time to think about this, this is the time to do that, sir.
No, the other stuff will just continue. Just to elaborate on that a little, I got a call from the fire chief today and the building inspector that someone told them that the roof caved in.
See, I don't want to get into
So
that.
he
I don't want.
they were down there and there's no roof caved in.
Yeah, but I don't want to get into that kind of stuff. I mean, that's not.
Well, that's some of the,
It sounds to me. I'm going to make a decision here. That you're not sure whether you want to resign or not. So you put a lot of time in service. If you're going to resign, you need to do it because you feel you need to do that. Not because, we appreciate your service, but, if you really truly want the department to move forward, if that's what you feel needs to be done, that's okay. This is a hard decision for us to take this vote, okay? So we want to make sure that you're sure, and that's why I'm asking again, do you want some time to reconsider this decision, sir?
yeah, I'd probably take a little bit more time to
I'll
reconsider.
rescind my motion, and I say we table this and,
Because we do have a couple of projects going
okay.
with the fire chief with regionalization.
I will rescind my motion.
We just got going. In fact, I think Mike just got some request for some paperwork
Okay.
from the fire chief for the startup paperwork for that.
I think that's a smart move.
Okay.
Just take a little while just to, you kind of sprung it on us, so.
What I would suggest you do, though, think about it, perhaps for next meeting, let us know what you want to do.
Okay.
Also, by the same token, though, there is some stuff that needs to be addressed and addressed quickly. We have talked about that. We had a meeting with the chief, we had a meeting a while back. They need to be addressed. Okay? And it sounds like you're starting to do that, but we need to keep the ball rolling. We can't go back, we need to move forward. So in the interim, if, you know, while you're thinking about it, we still need to continue to move forward. We need to clean up, look at equipment inventories. If you don't need the stuff, we need to decide what we need or don't need, and start making a list of what we need to discard, you know, before we do it, and start getting organized. We need to know. You know, anytime anything could happen, we need to be ready, and this town needs to be ready. You know, I know the chief of police and the fire department, they have their plans, and we do have a plan. There's a lot of talk that we don't have anything, and that's not true. Okay? There's information out there now. Do things have to be perhaps updated? Yeah, it's an ongoing process. It always is. Okay? I can't think of any government or any federal, state, or local that isn't behind in anything. So I know there's a lot of rumors out there that we have nothing, which aren't true. Okay, so I want to clarify that out there too. So with that being said, we have a letter of resignation. Mr. Brown's going to consider and let us get back to us next meeting.
Do you want a motion to table that?
Yes, there's a motion to table that, please.
Yeah, I'll make a motion to table the resignation from Mr. Brown.
Okay, second. Is there any other discussion?
Yeah, just under discussion, just, you know, you've served the town 38 years, you know, you have a lot of experience, you bring a lot to the table, and be confident with what you know and what you can do, and continue forward.
Get to it later. Yeah. Okay, thank you, Mr. Brown. Anything else?
No, thank you to the
Is
board.
it? No. Yeah. Mary Rose, you raised your hand before? Yeah, I have this issue. Oh, okay. Oh, okay.
Thank you, Mr. Brown.
Okay. Is there any other public comment? Mary Rose?
Thank you, Mr. Kane.
Mr. Chairman, board members,
Hi, Mary Rose.
Mary Rose Dickout, Litton Harris Hill.
Vote on the table.
Huh?
We didn't vote on the tabling of the,
Excuse me, I want to finish something up.
we got a
We have
first.
formal, but we got a first and second. All in favor?
Aye.
So we have a table, sorry about that.
Sorry.
Mary Rose.
Good evening.
Good evening.
A couple of questions I have for the board. I know that the individuals who just spoke previously about the land up at South Meadow Pond area. As I approached the board, I believe it was close to a year and a half ago, when the lease with the South Meadow Pond Wildlife Association was terminated. And at that particular time, I spoke not in favor of it. I thought at that point in time it was a bad decision to make. At this point in time, I know now that you have requests for proposals. You sent out an RFP that the deadline is on Friday. And so from my perspective, having served on the board for a number of years and as a citizen and taxpayer in the town of Clinton, I need to know what is the driving force in asking for RFPs for that parcel of property again, and for what purpose do you see that being used?
Well, I think we've talked about that before, and we voted on that before. We get the RFPs, we really want to get the RFPs to understand. We're not saying we're going to one way or the other, we just need to understand what options we have to do with that land. So that would be one.
And what options do you see? So you
Well,
must
that's
have,
why-
if you're sending out RFPs, you must have some indication in your own minds of what you think the purpose for that property would be.
Well, I think that you need to hear both sides of the option. This is one side, okay?
Well, that isn't, Steve, that isn't one side. My understanding is, there's a lot of factual information there. There are things that transpired at previous town meetings, which obviously taxpayers and residents in this community came
Correct.
and voiced their opinion, and those are supposed to be binding votes.
Okay.
Okay. My understanding, there hasn't been any other votes or any other things that have gone to town meeting that would change the direction that took place at those previous town meetings. So I guess, again, I'm trying to find out from my own perspective where the town is coming from, because I know that this board is looking, and you have committees now that are forming to purchase the Rauscher property that is has a price tag of over $2.4 million for conservation and open space property. And, so from that perspective, I'm just trying to get a handle on what this board perceives. You're sending out, obviously, people will come forward, and I don't know what those proposals will be in those RFPs, but I guess you folks must have an idea of what direction you're looking at.
Well, if I may...
Go ahead, Tony.
I think, the way my understanding is of the RFP was to provide a stewardship of the land. I know once, a parcel is overgrown or left to no stewardship as far as, maintenance of whatever, resources there, then the value of the land tends to, depreciate or become, more costly for, the town. So, I mean, that's my understanding. So to put it out for an RFP, it provides an opportunity for, organizations or groups to, supply a proposal on how they feel they could, be a steward of the land. Mm-hmm. And that's my understanding. I don't know if I share this.
Do you have anything?
I actually agree with Tony. If you look at the Rauscher property, a component of the Rauscher property would be a land management program. Now, whether that would be done through an RFP or through like a Sudbury Valley Trustees or a Trust for Public Land type of conservation group, remains to be seen. But I believe that if you have open land in town, it needs to be under some type of protection or, for lack of a better word, stewardship. Clinton it has very little open land, and what open land it has should be protected and should be controlled as such.
Let me
Well, I want to say something first. And I have no one way or the other. I just want to see what options I have. And that's how I always been. I've been on the board. I was on the board for 3 years, and I've always looked at options. I've always have. I don't have any agendas. Some people do. I don't. None. So I take a little exception when you come up and what's your intent or what's behind. I have nothing behind it. I want options. Okay. And if my options are, let me look at what this is. Let me look at what this is. Because you know what? I may get some great idea. I may not. And, maybe the best way is this. Maybe that's
well,
the
that's
way.
some
Something
concern,
else.
Steve, and I'll tell you why.
And that's okay because you're a citizen.
We did negotiate a lease in the year 2000.
Okay.
Okay? We all know that there was much discussion for many years about a rifle range, and that's my concern, is I don't know, and I don't know if you folks know, whether a proposal will come back in that will again make that a rifle range up there.
I think it's.
I have some very
I think, Rose, you obviously know that someone's going to come with a proposal for that.
All right,
but you know that. So to say, pretend to be said that you don't know someone's going to bring one up. You know that. It's just a given.
And I guess the point I'm trying to make, Steve, here is we all know what the intent of town meeting was. That people obviously did not want a rifle range there, okay? Right. And things have changed, and as Mike Jakonski, who was on the board, and I was on the board, and we spoke, and I believe some of you members were at that time on the board when you terminated the lease 2 years ago to the South Meadow Pond Association, okay? And you have a cemetery right there, and that was a big issue, okay? There's no way you can monitor shooting when a funeral is going on. There's absolutely no way whatsoever. You have athletic fields that are used all the time. You have a high school, you have a middle school. I'm not against people shooting. I know people, it's a wonderful sport and people enjoy it. There are just the proper places to have it, okay? And my fear is that one of your provisions that you made in your proposal for your lease, in your 5.5, highlight number 7, okay? You are the executive officers as the members of the Board of Selectmen. A provision you put in here, which was not in the original lease, is now you'd have to go to town meeting, okay? Again, I don't know why, if, as executive officers, you feel as though you need now to take that out of your discretion and bring it to town meeting. You know, I'm just a little bit concerned. I've been there. I've been here in your seat, Steve, for a long time.
I know you have for a
okay?
long time.
And I'm just really concerned. I believe this should all be done in the town's best interest and very upfront, okay? And I'm not making any... Listen, I'm just...
For you to insinuate, excuse me.
No,
For you to insinuate,
just let me finish it. When I say upfront, no, Steve, you're going to let me finish.
Well, no, wait a minute. No, time out.
I'm not
No, time
implying
out.
that anything
No.
illegal is being done. I'm just asking questions. That was
No,
not
but you're
illegal.
insinuating, you threw the word out there.
Well, you
in the
can
best
say that
interest.
I insinuated, maybe I used the improper termination in my trying to get across to you what I'm saying. And if it did sound that way, then I apologize to all four of
Because
you up
you know me
there,
for
because that's
a
not
few
my
years,
intent.
and you know that I'm open to a lot of things, you know that. So
Okay.
that's why
All
I'm
right,
bringing
then
that
let me
up.
just pose the question to you. Why did the board feel that you needed to put that attachment to number 7?
I think the board, okay?
Because you know you're the elected executive
I
officials.
understand that, okay? You're very clear on that.
Yes.
I think we know that, okay? I think there's a lot of groups out there that would like to use that property. And I think the RFP gives us ideas what we can use it for. There's groups of people that would like to see that, as you know, as everybody in this room knows, there's a group of people that would like to make that right frame. You know that. That is not a surprise to anybody in this room. We're trying to make this, trying to make this political, it's not a political issue, okay? The RFP is to see what we can do with it. It may not be a rifle range, it may be just back to what it was. That's why I'm looking at it. What options do we have?
Well,
That's what I'm looking at.
When this was terminated in 2004, it was a political issue. Because it was terminated after an individual came up here with no discussion to the South Meadow Pond Wildlife Association. And the lease says right here that you were supposed to give them a 60-day notice. There wasn't even an opportunity for them to defend themselves prior to this board terminating their lease. Is that not true?
I'm gonna have to go back and check on that because I thought we did that with you. I don't want to throw Dennis on, but I thought we had talked about
Unless
that.
I am incorrect, an individual came before this board, stated some facts, and that night a vote was taken, 5-0, to terminate that lease. Am I right or wrong?
I don't have the minutes.
I don't have the minute,
I
and
believe that's what happened, but I'd have to see the...
but did the lease say that they had 60 days?
But my understanding is there was a provision in the lease.
That's what I thought.
That said 60-day termination, and the termination of it wasn't effective until the 60-day period.
Right.
Certified mail notice was sent out. So...
Right.
Policy...
And that's what I'm
was a
saying.
board decision, but from a legal standpoint...
To say that, there was a termination in that lease, right?
But I mean,
That's a good
I
point.
would think that anyone would be given the opportunity, if they were the lessees, to have certainly an opportunity before something was terminated. And I guess
I know what you're saying.
the only reason I'm here tonight is I really and truly hope that this board will seriously look at really stopping the process and really thinking about leasing this property right now.
And I will tell you this, as I've told you in the past before, and as I've always been, I will look at everything objectively and honestly, like I've always done. And I will always put the town of Clinton first above everything that I do on this board, and I always have. And that's a commitment that I give to you, to everybody in this room, and to the town of Clinton, and I always have.
Well, I'll respect you for that. I respect you for that, Steve. But this is an entire board. There are 5 individuals.
Well, I can speak for myself.
Okay. And
I'm
I
sure that this
respect
board would
that.
do the
I
same.
respect that.
And I'm sure this board would do the same, because, and that's why I do, and I've always done it with you. We didn't always agree on everything, but we
Well, I'm
always
just saying,
respected each other.
again, and I think you know that, Steve, it's a very sensitive area
Well, I
over
know
there.
it is.
It's not an open space anymore. It's a very congested area.
I'm well aware of it. I grew up in this town.
And again, there is a place to do certain things, and I don't believe that that's the place to do
Right.
that
And that's-
type of recreation anymore.
And that's why, when we got this, the first thing out of my mouth, this is a great report, because everything's...
It is a great report.
Detailed and organized, gives you facts. You don't have to be searching those, right? I can imagine this took a numerous amount of time to do, and it's well appreciated. You don't
And
know
again,
how much-
I do apologize if, when I was talking, you got the impression that I was implying any wrongdoing. I'm not. I'm just saying, everyone needs to be as upfront as they can
And I agree with you.
what the purpose is and the actions the board takes. And that's what I'm saying, is that I think everyone has to be as upfront as they possibly can. And that's what the general public look for in this board. And that's all I'm saying. You know, I'm not implying anything other than I hope that the board would really and truly look about
And I will reiterate to you
just
again,
putting a stop into this.
I will look at everything objectively, as I always do.
Okay.
Okay, and you know better than anybody, you've been on this board a long time, that no matter what you do, people
Well,
think you do the wrong thing.
believe me, I'm very passionate about this, and
I
I
know
will
you
be
are.
back.
I know you-
If the board decides to go forward, and I think if it's going in the wrong direction,
As well you should.
I'll come back again.
And you should.
I'll
And
come
you're-
back
And you're
again.
welcome to come back as many times as you want, and you're always open to sit down and talk to us about whatever you want to talk about, because that's what we're here for.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you for your time.
You have a good day.
Thank you.
Anybody else public comment? If there's no further public comment, we do have two little items we have to address with the chief of police and with Mr. Cobbett. Chief, could you come up? I know you want to get...
Good evening.
Good evening, Chief. You have some budgetary concerns? Transfer?
Yes, as I reported in the monthly report the past 3 months, that the overtime account is depleted. And the court time account, same thing's going to happen for that.
Okay.
As you're aware, that last budget period, I requested $90,000 was appropriate. I requested additional staffing and $90,000 in the overtime account, and I wasn't given either. And we knew this was going to be a problem. There were some concessions made with the police union that increased the overtime rate, and you know, July 1, we knew that this was going to be a problem. I expect it to be probably about $35,000, $35,000 to $40,000 shortfall. We've already expended 65 half the year. I have 2 people coming out of the academy in 2 weeks, and we did hire a vacancy we had for a dispatcher's position. So that should improve the situation somewhat, but it's not going to eliminate it.
Okay. All right, any questions?
The 2 new officers that are coming on, how much will they alleviate your overtime problem?
Somewhat, but it doesn't, you just don't put them, they go into a slot, a set shift.
Yeah.
And they may, the lieutenant will put them in where they're most efficient as far as the budget, as far as the staffing goes, but it's not going to stop it completely.
But it will help.
It will help, yes. There's some other things that I'd like to take care of too. Maybe when we get those officers out on the street and fully trained, possibly putting somebody back in the courtroom. We have a lot of court cases up there. Again, that will help on the court end of the problem. And we have a lot of cases that are going up there, and I feel that a few of the cases are going through slipping through the cracks. They're being continued without a finding, and if we had somebody up there, and while these things are being agreed upon, we'd have someone advocating for the police department. I think there's some people that are not being punished the way they should be punished. You know? So
Yeah.
I think a court officer up there advocating our side of the story and the victim side of the story is something that's needed.
Makes a big difference.
There's always a need for a court officer. I mean,
Yeah.
Makes a huge difference, too.
Yeah. During the reduction of staffing that we've had over the past several years, we've eliminated the DARE program, we eliminated the court officer. We're not doing our own cruiser work anymore. That's all being done by a private garage owner. So the two people are going to help. And
Chief, what would it take to get the DARE officer back? That's mostly focused for the middle school, right?
that's grade 6.
Right.
Grade 6, around that area. And that'd be about $30,000. To replace a person, because it's a full-time thing, I mean, it's probably about 4 or 5 6th grade classes that he has to attend, and it's, you know, it'd be at least 3 days a week that he'd have to go there, and I think the program's 12 weeks. So you'd be taking him out of his regular slot, and you'd have to have someone backfill it.
Right.
You'd be backfilling it with overtime.
Any questions about this? Anybody else have any questions for the chief?
So, I mean, you know, is this too, when we do the budget cycle, or gotta make the motion to transfer, or, I mean, that?
Yeah, I'll have to be putting in for a
Right,
transfer
yeah,
for this
right.
money.
Yeah, toward the end of the year. So,
You obviously need it, so.
whatever you can do to save, I know you are, but,
Oh, yeah, we don't squander it.
all right.
Okay?
Thank you, chief.
Yep, take care.
Thanks, Chief.
Mr. Carperath? Yes, sir. Mike?
You have in front of you a request for some additional monies for the Veterans Office. This money is not for discretionary spending. I'm not buying a computer or a copying machine. This is Chapter 115 benefits. And what's happened is the number of people coming into the office seeking benefits under the law has increased dramatically. So the town treasurer has put together a projection of what it's going to take to finish out the year.
Okay.
And I may have to come back again and ask for more money if the trend we're presently under continues. Now, as you know, we're subject to a 75% reimbursement for this money spent. But the problem is it takes the state at least 6 months to come back with that money. So in the meantime, we have to upfront it. I was going to tell you the specifics of what we're experiencing, but I decided that I would not do that because the solicitor told me that an executive session was not appropriate.
Right.
So that's basically what the situation is. The truth is we have no discretion on this matter because it's mandated spending by the state. And if we don't do it the right way, we don't get our 75% reimbursement.
So Mike, can you fill me in on the process again for the reserve fund?
The department head would make a request to the appointing authority, and then the appointing authority would then review and approve it, and then send it to the finance committee. Finance committee would then review, and they have sole discretion over spending the reserve fund, so then they could vote to transfer the money from the reserve fund into another account. Also, at the end of the year, there's a new law that was passed to give the towns the ability to transfer money between departments, and that would be subject to approval by the selectmen with consent of the finance committee to transfer funds within a line item or within departments.
But that's in like last month.
Yeah, it could only happen in May and June
Right.
at the end of the year. So it would help to allow you not to be able to close out with the deficit.
Right.
So I believe currently the account, Mr. Conrad's account, is in deficit because benefits are being paid on a monthly basis. The money does get reimbursed, but it's within the next fiscal year. So the town would have to upfront it, and we would get reimbursement money back. So technically, we're only spending 25%, but within this fiscal year, you can't have a deficit in an account at the end of the year.
So we need to take care of it. Okay, it's a pleasure of the board.
So I make a motion that we approve the transfer.
For 26.5?
Yes.
Second that.
Is this second? Any further discussion, Brendan?
Nope.
No. If there's no further discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, that's approved.
Thank you,
Okay.
gentlemen.
Thank you.
I believe there's no other business. No more public comment, I do not think. Accept the motion to adjourn this meeting.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.